little midweek NBA chatter for you because we want to. And because that's just how it is. And that's what we're going to do for you. A lot we do.
It's definitely not because our schedules are all over the place the next few weeks. So we want to make sure y'all don't go like 15 days without a podcast.
Right. Exactly. I got stage announcements to do. Kevin's got people to shake hands with and lawyer for. And we are out here.
It's more just like we got to record during the week. Like I'm going to be on because next episode will still be you and I. I'm just going to be on remote location. I'm going to be up in Connecticut. And then the following week, so 2 episodes from now, Justin will be off and I will have, I don't know, whoever depends. We'll see what happens in the NBA. It depends how the tea leaves show up. It depends how the winds blow, all that fun stuff.
And speaking of fun stuff and tea leaves blowing, I would say probably the best recipient of that today would be Lauri Markkanen, who got $238 million in that tea leaf blowing in a 5-year wow, I almost totally butchered that word, renegotiation and extension to stay with the Jazz. I think that's a good move for the Jazz. I feel like he's been a good spot for them. Obviously, the Jazz are in a perceived rebuild. You could debate me on that if you want, but a perceived rebuild since Donovan Mitchell left and Rudy Gobert left. And I think Lauri Markkanen is a great spot for them to continue that rebuild back up.
Yeah. I mean, once you decided you weren't going to trade him, this contract was inevitable, whether it was from Utah or whether it was from someone else. And so obviously congrats to Lauri on getting the bag. It's well-deserved. Lauri's 27 years old. Like he's in the prime of his career. This is when he should be getting a big contract. Like this is not a deal that I anticipate aging badly for Utah. To go to your rebuild point, because the Jazz were 31-51 last year. They didn't make the playoffs. It kind of depends on, I guess, whether they want a hard rebuild or soft rebuild. I mean, the initial implication from this trade is Lauri Markkanen, who obviously was one of the big names, if not the biggest name on the trade market last year, especially once Paul George was off.
And still a little bit this year, there was some talk about the Warriors pursuing him. I saw the Kings were pursuing him. And I think Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma at one point were kind of in the conversation of whatever that trade might look like. So a Wizards and Pelicans potentially being involved there as well. But all that intrigue and excitement around the player should show you the Jazz got a guy that they should retain.
Well, now it's not going anywhere. That's the big thing or big takeaway from this contract, besides Markkanen being locked up, is that he cannot be traded now for 6 months, which will go past the trade deadline. So we're talking next summer before Lauri's moving on from Utah, which, again, is not going to scare the market. And I think that's the important thing, too. If you're Utah, is you don't need to rush to make this deal. Like Lauri being 28 next year instead of 27 and still in the prime of his career and locked up on a 4-year contract is not going to scare off all the suitors that he had this offseason. Like, short of him totally cratering this year, I don't expect his market to go away. And even if they crater, I mean, there's a chance they do. It kind of depends on what Utah wants to do. And I'm sure they're going to be communicating that with Lauri Markkanen. And it's, does Utah want to hit the hard rebuild button? And that means, everything must go, basically. We're doing the full fire sale here. Which could be a way to go. Like, I'm not necessarily saying that's the wrong way. The other is more of a soft rebuild, and that's where you trade guys like, the Jordan Clarksons of the world and the, why am I blanking on him right now? The Colin Sexton is who I'm trying to, like, those type of players who, contending teams will potentially be interested in and will give you, quality assets for, picks and such that will help you rebuild here in the future. And in that case, again, Lauri's still in the prime of his career. Like, you could do a retool and in theory be competitive again. It's just, there's no urgency here for Utah. And in that sense, I think you got to do it because I sound like a broken record with this, but like he's in his prime, he's played good ball. And I don't think he's really going to depreciate with this contract in terms of what you can potentially get for him. Like, he's still going to be one of the key players to watch on the market if they decide he becomes available. And this gives the front office some time to figure it out. Like, you kind of can decide, once the season begins, which way you want to go.
And it's worth mentioning that he was most improved player, not this year. That was Maxey, but the year before is was his award. And in the 2023-2024 season, averaged above career highs in points, total rebounds, assists, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, free throw percentage, and obviously then that leads us to effective field goal percentage. So all signs point to this 7-footer continuing to get better as he goes into the next season. He'll be 27. I think you might have mentioned that, but he'll be 27 next year. And it looks like they're keeping him, at least games played wise. Last year was closer to a lower number, about 55. But I think if you keep him around the 55 to 66 games, again, you're not to dump on Utah, but you're not trying to win right now. So I think as long as you're creating a good atmosphere and not running your guy into the ground, where when you finally have a team that's ready to contend, he's dealing with injuries or something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge mixed bag if they win next year, because they owe OKC their first round pick, but it's top 10 protected. So I don't think Utah has any incentive to win next year at all. I mean, sure, if they make the playoffs, great, and you have some guys that break out, like, you can't really argue with that growth, but I don't necessarily think that's going to happen with the Utah Jazz, especially in that Western Conference this year. But to your point about Lauri, 50, 40, and 90 shooting splits since going over to Utah. I mean, there's plenty of teams. I mean, you mentioned a bunch of them earlier with Golden State. San Antonio was heavily in the market for Markkanen as well. Like, I don't think that market's going to just suddenly dry up now. And I think they can retool around him if they want to. Like, there's just that's the big thing. What it comes down to is, like, there's a lot of flexibility here for Utah. And I don't think they're like, this isn't an example of holding on to a player too long. I think Markkanen will, for the next 2 to 3 years, still retain his value as long as he keeps playing the way he has these past few years.
Yeah, I agree. So, I haven't really seen anybody hate on the announcement too much, but I also haven't clicked on Woj's post about it. So, I'm interested to see if there is some haters out there. Lauri did have a comment to ESPN. He said they've all showed their belief in me, from the ownership to the front office to coach. I'm comfortable in this environment, and those guys' resumes speak for themselves. I trust the organization to help me grow as a player and a person, to build our team, and I'm ready to take on the challenge.
Well, you mentioned Brandon Ingram a bit as well, and not to completely pivot off Lauri's statement, but a lot of the teams potentially that I think may have been interested in Markkanen.
Now look at Ingram.
Yeah, you don't wonder if I don't think, again, the market suddenly drastically resets here, but you wonder if those teams don't kick the tires a little more than they would have before.
Which is interesting, because the Warriors, who were interested in Markkanen, at least the first, headline that pops up when you look up Ingram, is Warriors have no interest in Brandon Ingram or Zach LaVine. So now Zach LaVine's being thrown into the conversation, but that we already know where Zach LaVine's trade value is, which is wild, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, well, we just don't need to beat it to death. Like, we've kind of talked about it already with LaVine. Like, the too long didn't read version with Zach is that Zach's a quality player. It's just that contract stinks and he gets hurt a lot. So it's one of those things where it's like, you don't want to potentially pay a guy who, I'm just not giving up 5 first-round picks for Zach LaVine, which is what I think the Bulls wanted, but it's just, there's way too much injury risk there. Like, he's brilliant at times. Like, I get kicking the tires on him. And again, you take the contract out of the equation, I think this is an entirely different conversation, but that's not real life. And the contract is always in the equation. So
I completely agree. So I am interested. If you had to guess, at the start of the season, LaVine and Ingram on their teams they're currently on right now?
LaVine, definitely. I think Ingram is worth watching a little more right now. I'm still leaning towards him going to the Pelicans. Like, we're pretty quickly approaching training camp, and the end of the summer is near. It feels like the time that Brandon Ingram would have been moved has just passed.
Yeah.
But if there's something that would maybe shake it up, it would be Lauri being just officially taken off the market. Like, again, this is not just he's off the market for this summer. Like, he's now fully off the market until next summer. Like, we're not even at trade deadline having the Lauri Markkanen conversation again. Like, so yeah, you wonder, Golden State is the team that obviously has a little more urgency here, just with Steph's age. Like, Steph is not getting any younger. But for San Antonio and some of these other teams, younger teams, I think you can afford to be a bit more patient, obviously.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Welcome, everybody, to the Driving Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rafuse. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Justin Cousart.
In midweek, we don't get a player tweet, so, deal with it.
All right. Okay. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us.
And we are also on YouTube. You can find us there, and you can watch the video version of the podcast or follow along when we play Immaculate Grid, which is what we normally do at the end of the episode. So feel free to check it out. Then just search Driving Dish NBA podcast, and you can subscribe so you never miss an episode.
I talked a little bit at the beginning about kind of our schedule for the next episodes, but for this episode, obviously you just heard Lauri Markkanen, but beside that, we're going to talk some Olympics here in a little bit after the sponsors. We got our semi set up. Of course, like Justin mentioned, we're going to play Grid of the episode. We'll do some Who's Ballin', Who's Fallin' as well. And now a word from our sponsors.
So as of recording this, Team USA is set to go up against Jokic. That's the big headline. Can Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, and Bam handle Jokic? And how will it go down? I think the Team USA is going to win it. But that's getting a little bit down the line of this conversation. But here we are, man. Depending on when you're listening to this episode, it might be over. As again, for continuity's sake, as of recording this episode, they are set to play tomorrow. I think they said 3 p.m. USA time for us, if I have that right.
Yeah.
Do you have any worries?
Do I smell an upset? We'll get to that in a sec. I mean, first to recap how we got here. In the quarterfinals, the U.S. beating Brazil 122-87. France beat Canada 82-73. That's not necessarily an upset, but I think that.
Oh, sorry, a little foreshadow to my following. That's gonna come up a little bit.
So we'll get into that in a little bit. Probably the game of the quarters was Serbia and Australia. Serbia, who we mentioned, will play the U.S., win 95-90. And then Germany handling business pretty easily with Greece 76-63. So two rematches here. Germany steamrolled France in group play, and they're going to play each other in the semifinals. The U.S. beat Serbia in group play. I don't want to say they steamrolled them. They played a really strong second half. But yeah, I mean, look, Serbia, when Jokic was on the court, did extremely well against the U.S. Like, they were keeping it close. It was those non-Jokic minutes. And that's going to be the key for Serbia, of course. It's going to be, can they survive those minutes? Or does Jokic just play the entire game, which is also an extremely real possibility that I think the U.S. needs to be in for.
Right. You're going to have to, at least from what we've seen when they've already played, is you already alluded to it. When he's not on the court, they get absolutely exposed.
Yeah, I mean, but look, there have been, this roster is talented. Bogdanovic has been great this entire run. He had 17 points against Australia, but he's another guy, if he gets hot, can really light it up quickly. Macic has been great off the bench, obviously point guard there. He's played in the NBA finally, but he's mostly been a EuroLeague guy, but he played really well in that Australia game as well. Yeah, I mean, look, you got to feel good about the way they closed that game. Australia is obviously a team that's been here before. Patty Mills, as just Patty Mills does in the Olympics, was phenomenal in that game, 26 points. Josh Giddey had 25. Yeah, I mean, the U.S. needs to not sleepwalk, and they certainly have the personnel with Embiid and AD and Bam to keep an eye on Jokic, and I mean, that's really the key here. Besides that, yeah, the U.S. should handle business. The question is, it's going to be who steps up. It's been the majority KD and Anthony Edwards so far. Ant was phenomenal again in the game against Brazil. He had 17 points. Booker, probably the biggest story. He's kind of played more of and we talked about this a little bit last week. Like, he's kind of played more of a defensive role, like maybe a little. He hasn't been asked to score the way that Devin Booker usually has, and they went to him there against Brazil, and obviously nice to see him just no hesitation there, 18 points.
And worth mentioning in, I believe it was the last game, Kevin Durant broke the all-time USA basketball scoring record and had a very classy tweet about it and a little back and forth. And I was just pulling up his numbers in the 6 games. He's averaging 20.7 points. He's shooting 52.9% from the field, 37% from three. He's also, I believe, leading the team in rebounds and assists with 5 and 3. You could pretty much round both of those up, honestly. So, yeah, I would say, at least from Team USA and who's like been that consistent, calm presence, it's Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it continues to be Kevin Durant. At this point, you just lean into it.
Yeah, KD's making a case for the greatest US Olympian basketball wise of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that post too, because he broke it from Lisa Leslie, who obviously is one of, not just Americans, but one of the icons of the women's game.
Yep.
It is worth mentioning on the women's side, ironically, these semifinalists are more or less the same. There aren't too many differences. The US, of course, has been steamrolling. They beat Nigeria 88-74. France beat Germany 84-71. Belgium beat Spain 79-66. And Australia beat Serbia 85-67. So, a few familiar faces there. We'll be, of course, watching the women's side as well. The U.S., a lot more of a heavy favorite on the women's side, to say the least. Yeah, I mean, look, these are both shaping to be really entertaining games. There's no way around it. I mean, the U.S. will not be able to play with their food against Serbia. Like, this is a really good team. I think everybody in the NBA knows what Jokic can do at this point. He's as this engine goes. If they're able to keep him limited, keep him flustered, then I think the U.S. has a great chance of victory. I mean, I think they will regardless, but yeah, I mean, the guys last game, Embiid kind of struggled in that Serbia game a little bit. AD was better. I think he was kind of the key there once he came in. That Serbia game was when Kevin Durant was just lights out from behind the arc.
He didn't miss.
Ant was lights out. LeBron was lights out that game. And it has been kind of somebody different every one of these USA games so far.
Yeah, well, like we talked about, Bam had the 18 points the one game and led the team. And, it kind of seems that's a little bit of what Steve Kerr's doing, at least in those first few games where it was like, Tatum doesn't play, now Embiid doesn't play, and it just kind of like rotate the star and let them do what they do best and just win,
Yeah.
Kind of seems to be that way.
No, 100%. I mean, the only worry, I guess, is they did have a lull against Brazil. Like, they were up big and Brazil got it down to single digits in the third. And I think that's where, everybody kind of had that gut check moment, like, oh, is this really, like, are they going to make this interesting? But, good for the US to kind of respond there and then really put it away. I mean, that game wasn't close down the end of the stretch. And besides that, though, I think the U.S. will go to the gold medal game. I'm not exactly about to jump off the cliff here. There'd be a pretty massive L for them if they were not able to handle business.
Which, by the way, for anybody wondering, is going to be Saturday, August 10th. That's when the bronze medal and the gold medal game is going to happen.
Yeah.
Honestly, that 5 a.m. bronze medal game is probably going to be more exciting. Like,
it'll be fun. Whoever loses, if it's Serbia and the loser of France, Germany, like, yeah, that'll be a really entertaining matchup for sure.
Yeah. So,
on the France Germany side, I mean, Germany, I think, has looked, other than the US, like the strongest team so far. I mean, they're undefeated. None of the squads left are undefeated besides Germany and the US.
And Wemby had a little bit of trouble with Germany last time. That's where all the comments were coming out about Germany and France being able to compete with each other, and a certain Orlando player that we loved seeing get the reps and the hype, so.
Yeah, the Wagner brothers of just, international ballers. But it's not just them, too. I mean, it's a guy like Daniel Tice, for example, who's a ton of NBA experience, like, is a bigger body that can go up against Wemby. I mean, he's a guy to do there. I mean, Mo Wagner, obviously, is going to be huge. The other key for Germany is our boy Dennis Schroeder. Like, Dennis Schroeder was great off the bench, 13 points in that win against Greece. He's going to be another guy that they need to get a lot of buckets. And looking for that revenge against France. I mean, they both just lit it up the last time they played France. For France, you hope to get a little more out of Wemby. I mean, here's the thing that makes you feel pretty good. Wemby was pretty terrible against Canada, honestly. He's 2 of 10, 7 points. Good defense, obviously, but, pretty ineffective offensively. But they found a way. Gershon Yabusele, ex-NBA guy, 22 points. Evan Fournier, 15 points. So listen, I still think Germany is going to win this game. The bigger story for me so far is, I don't know who's more disappointed if you're Canada or Australia, but I think it's got to be Canada, given the
Canada
expectations that
was
went into this
yeah.
roster.
Yeah, Canada was a definite one that you and I both pinged, probably even a little bit over maybe Germany when we were talking about it. I can't
Yeah.
remember, where we were kind of like, oh yeah, they're going to be right there. Just before we get too far past it, because I know I bring these up a lot, Germany is a favorite against France right now. The spread is -5.5. No surprise, USA is the favorite. They're -16.5, but actually a lot less than we've seen, at least for Team USA. But yeah, I mean that's what I take out of it from the Germany France thing is, look, we saw what happened last time, so now France has to come out and prove us wrong. And until they do that, I'm going to lean Team Germany on that one. So I think it's going to be USA Germany in the going for the gold.
Yeah, which would be electric. I think that would be a great final.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Canada, I mean, this roster, it's just, we've talked about it. It's just chock full of NBA guys. Like this is really, a program that's really come up the last 20 years to be on this, national stage, to be viewed as a true contender. And I mean, look, yeah, they just came up short. Gilgeous-Alexander was great, 27 points. RJ Barrett, 16, but a lot of their other main guys just didn't come through. Dylan Brooks, 2 points, 1 of 9 from the field. The bigger story, who you'll get into as well, of course, a little bit, is Jamal Murray. Like Jamal Murray, just absolute disaster class of an Olympics. But like, besides those guys, like Lou Dort, Dwight Powell, Trey Lyles, Kelly Olynyk, Kem Birch, like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, these are all NBA players, and not bad NBA players either. Like these are guys who play on good squads. They play meaningful minutes. So yeah, I think there's a tremendous amount of disappointment for Canada to not even medal at this stage. Like, because I think they feel like, beating the US is one thing, but I think you're right. They look at the other squads who are left and go, hey, we should be able to hang with and potentially beat any of these other guys, and to go out in the quarterfinals. Like, it's a bitter disappointment. There's no way around it.
100%. I guess we can jump right into the falling portion of the balling a little bit. Was an article that has now come out, kind of all over the place right now, but essentially the headline, which is really what I wanted to focus in on, was agitated, bitter, and a total 0 for Canada at the Olympics. Guard Jamal Murray isn't worth anywhere near $200 million for Denver. Put away the checkbook.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of leaning into the Olympics a little too much. I don't think that should affect him with Denver.
Okay.
But you're right. I mean, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. He's on the last year of a contract. He's making $36 million. He's a huge integral part of them winning a title a few years ago. That matters. And I don't think the Olympics should suddenly erase that. As bad as he was, because he was bad, there's no way around it. Like, Jamal Murray needs to burn all the footage from this Olympics and forget it never happened. Jamal Murray might need to never go back to Paris again, honestly. Like, he may just need to just, go to a different country at this point. Like, it ain't just working over there. But I mean, look, like, him and Jokic have undeniable chemistry. There were stretches last year where I think Murray's a little disappointing, but I think that's also unfair too, because we've seen stretches of absolute brilliance from Jamal Murray late in games and meaningful games where he's won in the finals. So yeah, I think that's a little, if Jokic is happy with Jamal Murray, like, do I think maybe there's a limit on how good Jamal Murray is individually? Like, yeah, do I think we should be talking about him as a top 10 guy? Probably not, but I think he does his job really well in Denver. But I mean, yeah, that's always going to be the key with Denver going forward if they rock with Jamal Murray. Like, if Jamal Murray's not playing at the level of a proper number 2, we know what Jokic is at this point. Mm-hmm. If you're not getting that out of Murray, then yeah, I think you have a bigger problem if you're Denver.
And I think if you, not saying they should now, but I think if you're on the fence and considering, there are going to be teams that are gonna want Jamal Murray if it does have to be a trade scenario. I don't think it is. I think, like you said, it might be a little bit of an overreaction to the NBA stuff. But if you're the Nuggets, you do use that against in at least the negotiation parts and to bring the money down. So
Yeah, sure. And then if I'm Jamal Murray and the Nuggets really want to like bring up my Olympic play as a reason not to pay me after I brought you a
You're
huge
like,
party giving
yo,
first title in NBA history, like
yeah,
what are we talking about?
pay me. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
like
I completely agree. It's just, it's the opposite effect of what the Olympics can do for you. It at least puts a little nugget of doubt in there now.
yeah, no, I get that for sure, and I see what you did there as well. Here in Who's Ballin', Who's Fallen, of course, our NBA version of the stock market. Usually we start with the good before the bad, but we've been kind of backwards on both of those for the past 2 weeks. It is what it is. And we're kind of doing it different this time anyway, since Justin has fallen and I have Ballin. But Ballin is Charles Barkley, who's not going to retire. And quite the opposite. Instead, he's going to honor his 10-year contract with TNT, which, mind you, he was in like year 2 of. So this is not like a light decision. And I mean, obviously, this is the last year, depending, I guess, in theory, on how these lawsuits go. But this is the last year that TNT is going to be covering the NBA. So we didn't expect anything to change there. There have been all sorts of rumors going around. They're saying they want to expand inside the NBA, maybe to other sports, and just keep the same crew.
Be confusing if it's called Inside the NBA and they're covering the NFL, but what do I
Probably,
know?
yeah, probably should change that. I mean, I go back and forth on that. Like, I'm willing to give that crew the benefit of the doubt on anything because I say on this
Yeah.
podcast all the time, like, I think it's one of the best shows on TV, regardless of the NBA. They are super entertaining, but you're right. Like, it does reach a kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, why are all these NBA guys talking about like random things like rugby and the Olympics and NFL or whatever they may end up
Listen,
being.
Snoop talked about equestrian, and look at him now.
I mean, hey, he was in that full outfit with Martha Stewart the other day.
I just love that someone posted a picture of him in that full equestrian outfit, and someone's like, "This man was on trial for murder."
It really is remarkable. Like, it kind of doesn't get talked because you're right. Snoop Dogg is such a universally beloved figure at this point by everybody. And I think a lot of people would argue that, he's a quote unquote safe person, if that makes sense, around like, your parents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For someone who makes edgy music, but he is a quote unquote safer. You're right. Snoop Dogg was on trial for murder. Like, Snoop Dogg is a well known affiliated Crip. Like,
Yeah.
And like, listen, I love Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg and I share a birthday. Fun fact.
Dang, okay.
Yeah, like, I think Doggy Style is one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. Like, period, full stop. He's an icon in so many different things. But you're right. Like, there are not many people who have had a true career. Like, Snoop Dogg was one of those people. Like, imagine his first single. His first single was Deep Cover with Dr. Dre. Like, he said he was doing 187 on an undercover cop. Like, my man is now the figurehead of like Team USA Olympics in 2024.
We need a Snoop Dogg documentary. Like,
I'm sure it'll come out at some point. Yeah. Like, he's just such an interesting human being. Like, he's one of those like most interesting people in the world type deals where just everything that he's done over the years, all the different genres that he's gone into at this point, like putting the whole reggae album out, the movie features, the just random pop culture appearances and things
all
like that.
All the random business things he's been involved with. Like, him and Shaq rival each other for how much business things they're involved with.
Well, you're right. Like, again, if you flash back in time to 1993 and 94, when Murder Was the KCP is out and when he's like on Death Row Records and all that, yeah, I think it would have gone well beyond everybody's wildest expectations. Like, not the musical success, but like him being the cultural phenom that he is. Yeah, I think you're pretty much at best case scenario like, there right now.
You travel back in time and just tell one person like Snoop Dogg's America's dad now, and they'll be like, "What?"
It really is like, and I love it. Like, obviously, we huge Snoop Dogg fans over here. Obviously, nothing but love and respect. All right, so should we play some Immaculate Grid then?
I guess so. I don't even know where we are on our.
No, we're good. We got that was everything.
Okay, good.
We cleared our outline. So yeah,
all right.
Let's play some Immaculate Grid. Like we said, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode for the listeners. And again, Justin and I will be on the next episode. We'll have a full recap of how the rest of the Olympics went and anything else that might happen. And you can always watch the Immaculate Grid on YouTube if you want a video version of it. You want to play along with us. For the audio listeners, of course, our
Mhm.
rows or our columns this week, excuse me, from left to right, we've got the Spurs, we've got the Timberwolves, and we've got 20 points a game per season. Our rows from top to bottom, we got the Clippers, we got the Knicks, and we got the Sixers. So I will pass it off to you. Just what are you thinking for round one?
Obviously, Kawhi Leonard works for
Yes.
Clippers. Spurs, I believe David Lee also works for Spurs, Knicks.
He does.
Isaiah Cannon works for Spurs 76ers, maybe?
He might. I'm a little certain on that one, but that sounds correct. I mean, I know he played for the Sixers.
Yeah.
Isaiah Cannon, it feels like could have been the type of player to float around that time as well.
Thaddeus Young actually would also work there. We used him last week.
We do. Thad Young works there.
Yeah.
I've got two that work there actually without thinking too hard. One is another guy we actually used last week is Jonathan Simmons. Jonathan Simmons played for the Sixers and the Spurs.
Yeah.
The other one that works for Sixers and Spurs is Dwayne Dedman. Dwayne Dedman played for the process Sixers and was definitely on the Spurs at one point.
I dig it. You want to do that one?
I'm cool with Dedman. Dedman's pretty random. He wasn't on the Sixers very long.
Does he actually spell it dead man?
D-E-D.
Yeah.
Top one.
Okay. Yeah, 1%. There
nice.
You go.
All right. Good start.
So here's my question. And this is getting way ahead. For 76ers, 20 points per game. Did Jahlil Okafor have over 20?
Oh, my God. He might have.
Because I know he was cooking that season, too, because he was the only option. I don't think Michael Carter-Williams did it.
I don't think he had 20.
For whatever reason, I have 16 points per game in my head.
Yeah, Okafor, it would have been the rookie year.
Yeah, only the rookie year as an option.
Bad, though. That's the thing. Like, they were so horrendous that rookie year.
I know. I just don't know if he did or not. So we can come back to it, but
we'll table that. I want to ponder on both of those a little more, but they're not bad guesses. I mean, the obvious ones for Sixers 20 a game are like Iverson, Embiid, Jimmy probably did. Max, I think, had 20 last year. I mean, Dr. J is the other obvious one for the Sixers. I mean, there's a few boomer ones too, like Wilt works. I'm pretty sure Daryl Dawkins works. Moses Malone probably works.
Doug McDermott works for Knicks Spurs.
He does. And I think he'd be less obvious than David Lee would.
You want to go McDermott?
Yeah.
Or am I?
No, he played for the Knicks. I don't remember I don't remember for all the Doug McDermott talk we do. I don't actually remember the order of teams he played for. I know the Spurs were his last team. Because he was there for a few years.
Yeah. He played a bunch of games for the Spurs.
Well, last year. He played for them last year. And the Pacers.
Did he really?
Yeah, he was on the Pacers last year too.
Do you think that's too soon then? I don't think people associate Doug with the Knicks.
No, I don't either. I'm fine going with Doug McDermott there.
Okay.
Because the only other one that jumps off the page for me right away is David Lee, and I think David Lee is definitely higher.
Yeah, let's go. 7%. Okay.
Yeah, I can live with that.
All right, there's got to be a better option than Kawhi.
I know, Kawhi. And Kawhi right now is the only one I can think of.
Boban.
Was when did Boban go to San Antonio? He was there last year, right?
Boban played San Antonio more recently, I think, and then he was with Clippers with Tobias, right?
No, that's where the Toby and Bobby thing started.
He would work there. Would he work for anything else? Actually, I guess he would have worked for the Sixers one too, but
no, he works for Spurs. He'll be less. I mean, certainly less than Kawhi. He would have worked for Sixers Spurs. You're right. That would have been a good one. I'm fine going Boban there. We can come back to that too, but I know Boban is definitely right.
Let's go Boban. Let's do some Boban talk. 5%. I can work with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So Timberwolves and Clippers. I actually know a lot of these like real quick. Without thinking that we're definitely 9 for 9 in this, unless we
Sixers guy Robert Covington.
Yeah, so Covington works for Sixers Wolves and for Clippers Wolves as well.
And Bev works. Does he work for Nick? No, he doesn't.
No, he works for both. He works for Clippers
both.
and Sixers. Jimmy works for Sixers and Wolves, Jimmy. Obviously. Dario Saric works for Sixers and Wolves.
Lance Stevenson. I think he works for Timberwolves Clippers.
God, I don't remember him.
Remember, Lance Stevenson came back. Like, he went away for a while. I'm pretty sure he went to the Timberwolves after the Pacers, and then he went away, and we didn't hear about him. And then suddenly he was on that Clippers team that had no star, but everybody was decent.
Well, he was in China, wasn't he? He was overseas.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I'm almost positive. And then they brought him back.
Huh. I believe you. That's one of those I fully trust you there. I don't remember him being on either of those teams, but you really I trust your weird guesses like that. Those were nice, dude. 0.6%. Hell yeah. Which makes sense. I do not remember him doing either of those things. I'm gonna look this up now. I'm curious. Lance Stevenson. Okay, yeah. Played for the Clippers in 2015, 2016 for 43 games. Started 10.
Oh, I had it backwards then. I thought he went to the Clippers after.
So Lance was obviously started with the Pacers. That's when he broke out. Yes. After he went to the Pacers, he went to Charlotte because he signed that big contract and he was pretty bad.
That's what I messed up. Okay.
Then Charlotte. He went to the Clippers and he played that season 2015, 2016. He was with the Clippers and he was with the Grizzlies for a stint there as well. Dude, Timberwolves, man, good for you. He played for them for 6 games.
Only 6? I thought it was like a whole season.
No, man. 2016, 2017. He played 18 games in the NBA. He played for 6 for the Pelicans. He played 6 for the Timberwolves. And he played 6 for the Pacers.
Holy moly.
And then he actually went back. He was back with the Pacers. He played a full 82-game season with the Pacers the following year in 2017, 2018. He played with the Lakers in 2018, 2019. Like early. I think that was one of the first LeBron years, or like it was right before the first LeBron year. Because I remember, because there's a GIF of him playing the guitar. He low-key has a crazy like cross and J on the while he's playing for the Lakers. And then funny. He played in China. He was just completely unsigned during COVID. And then in 21-22, he played 6 games for the Hawks, and then he played 40 games for the Pacers again.
Okay. I had it backwards, I guess, but yeah, good call.
Man,
I guess
you had it either way.
All right. So Timberwolves, Knicks, Derrick Rose works.
Well, Derrick Rose does work. Who is Latrell Sprewell works? He'll probably be a little more popular because Spree was. He was on the Knicks team that went to the finals.
Taj Gibson works.
Taj Gibson definitely he does work. No, Tibbs' favorite baby. It both stops. Taj definitely works.
I
don't think Mike Bibby played for the Wolves. He definitely played for the Knicks. I don't think he played for the Wolves though.
There was a kid that I used to play NBA 2K with as the point guard of the Knicks.
I'm trying to remember if like the Raymond Feltons of the world.
Oh God, yeah.
Wherever, like guys who I know he was a Knick, but I don't think he was ever a Timberwolf. I'm trying to think of the other. There's another player you mentioned. I mean, Pat Bev never played for the Knicks, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think he did early on. Like that, like that's when it would have been. He was with the Rockets a lot, I know, obviously, early on. The Clippers. Pat Bev does work for Sixers Wolves. Jimmy is probably the most popular there.
I would imagine so. Yeah, Jimmy's probably most popular. I think we mentioned Thad Young would also work there. Robert Covington still works.
Yeah, Cub still work. I'm cool going Cub, honestly. Cover Dario, the other side of that Jimmy trade.
You want to go Cub?
Yeah, I'm fine going Cub.
Or Dario.
I think Cub will be lower just because he works for the Clippers as well. So I think maybe people will use him in that slot.
Okay. 8%. Yeah, right. We can work that. All right. What do we there's this point guard.
I know. I'm trying to think of like
I mean, we already said Derrick Rose. We already said Taj.
Like Kevin Knox never played there, right? Like
I don't think so.
He definitely played for the Knicks. I don't think he ever bounced to Minnesota.
Jamal Crawford, Knicks.
Jamal Crawford probably works for the Wolves.
Did he end up on the Timberwolves? I know he had a bunch of games for the Knicks.
I think he did. I think he was at the Wolves towards the end of his career, I want to say. That would work. I like Jamal Crawford.
You want to go Jamal?
Yeah, unless we think he averaged 20 for the Knicks. If we think he averaged 20 for the Knicks, I would hammer that there.
Okay. Okay. Let's think about this for a second.
I think it's going to be low in either one, but if he averaged 20 for the Knicks, I think it's going to be absurdly low. He was on the Knicks in his prime.
20 though.
I know he's one of those borderline guys. Like he's right on the border.
20 for the Knicks.
I'm okay if you want to use him here if you don't feel confident enough in it.
I wanna. Let's risk it. Let's risk it because we're convinced we're getting a 9.
Right,
so if not, we can feel bad about it.
All right, that's
Let's
fine.
risk it.
You want to
Jamal?
This is insane. I love it.
Let's go Jamal for the 20 and feel bad about ourselves if we got too
I'm
greedy.
going to hate myself when this is wrong. Sick. Let's go.
When did he do that? Hold on, I'm looking him up now.
It's early. It's got to be early.
Crawford. Okay, hold on.
I got it. 0708. He did it one time. He broke 20. He was right under it for 3 other years. 19.6, 19.7. Damn, he only did with the Knicks too. Wow, that is an all-time.
The only time he's ever had 20.
Yeah, he was 27 years old. A lot of close calls, like seasons with the Hawks.
He played a full season that year. He did all 80 games. Or 81, I guess it was 81. He missed 1 game.
Yeah, he missed 1 game, man.
Or that's 2, whatever.
Wow, hell yeah. He would have worked for the Wolves too. He did play for the Wolves in 2017, 2018. He played 80 games for the Wolves.
Damn. All right. So now we just need that Knicks Timberwolves, which we already know a few for. Jamal Crawford's off.
So Crawford's off. So you mentioned Rose, you mentioned Taj Gibson. Wasn't there another one that we mentioned?
No, there's a kid I can't think. He's a little white point guard dude. From way I would have been like 2014,
dude. It's
2015.
Not hang on, dude. It's not like Alexi Shved, is it?
Yes, that's the name.
Dude, oh my god. He was on the Sixers. He was so bad for us.
No, but that's the name because he was
it's him.
NBA 2K, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was
SHVED. He started his career on the Warriors. This is a early in the crates driving dish guy. Like I vividly remember talking about Alexi Shved.
What?
It's gonna
2%.
Dude, are you kidding me? That's 2%. Wow,
that kid in NBA 2K15 cooked. He cooked for the Knicks.
Alexi Shved, 77 games with the Wolves in 2012, 2013, 63 games with the Wolves in 2013, 2014, and then he played for the Knicks, for 16. He bounced around. He's on the Sixers for 17 games in 2014, 2015. He was on the Rockets for 9, and he was on the Knicks for 16.
People are cheating if he's at 2%.
That's
like,
crazy.
Come on.
Taj would have been higher, I think, than Derrick Rose would have been the highest. Derrick Rose is just because people love Derrick Rose. Like, even with them not being his most popular teams, people just love Derrick Rose. Okay.
So
let's reel this in. So we got Clippers 20, Sixers 20. Obviously, there are multiple answers that we know here.
Yeah. We still aren't sure if we want to do Jaleel yet, which is another debate we have to have.
I'm scared about Jaleel Okafor, man. We've stepped on a lot of ledges. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Jaleel Okafor might be a ledge too far. I think MCW I would have more faith in, but I don't think he got because he was dishing out so many too.
Did Iggy ever average 20 for us?
Not for the Sixers, I don't think.
No, okay, because that would be another one.
He'd have been close, but I don't think
he
was ever. I don't think he ever got to 20. Though I think he'd be closer than Okafor would be.
He'd definitely be closer than Okafor. I'm trying to think.
All those Sixers teams were balanced, They like with Drew Holiday. I don't think he was necessarily
we never got 20 a game from like an Evan Turner or
well, that's what I'm trying to think of, right? Where it's like, did Drew get to 20? Did
Holiday? Yeah,
I don't think he did in Philly though. I don't think he did in Philly.
No.
I don't think those teams were balanced. Like I said, it was bad scoring. It was, they had Spencer Hawes getting touches at the time.
Spencer Hawes. Oh my God. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Did Tobias ever have 20 a game?
God, probably. I think
because then we could have the conversation of do we think he'll be used more for one or do we burn that with the Sixers?
Tobias for sure did with the Clippers. I think. Like,
So
I'm more confident about. I would burn it there over the Sixers. The Sixers, Tobias. We're going to use Tobias for the Sixers 20 a game, and it's going to piss me off one way or the other. Because he's either going to have had it by like 0.3, or he's going to have missed by 0.3, and it's going to ruin this perfect grid.
So let's go Tobias Clippers. I'm still not fully confident on it.
I'm confident about.
Okay,
I feel way better about that.
I'm not, but if you are. I feel like Tobias is going to be way.
Got him traded.
Wow!
Let's go. All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's pull this up. I'm doing the. Let's see how this goes here. Quick.
All right.
Yeah, Tobias averaged 20.9 per game for the Clippers in 2018.
Did he ever have it for the Sixers?
He got traded. He didn't have it for the Sixers. He had 19.6 is the best he had in 2019. 20. Anyway.
All right. 76ers. Right. We know Iverson,
Wilt, Julius Erving are the obvious ones.
Embiid,
and Embiid and Maxey both are obvious.
Harden
probably might. I think Harden was real close to 20.
I bet Harden would be an interesting one.
Harden had it.
He had to have.
I think he did for sure.
Should we go Harden? I feel like people aren't going to think Harden.
They're not going to first because it's recent. Guys like Moses Malone, you're not going to think about.
Yeah.
The only random person who I could maybe think of, and it's just because he was on a bunch of really mid teams in the 90s, but he probably scored a bunch of points, would be like Jerry Stackhouse.
And it has to be 20 on the team, right?
Yeah. Stackhouse would be my pull. If it could be 20 a game, then yeah, Dwight Howard. Like, there's a bunch of random guys
we could grab. All right, hold on. I have one more.
Okay.
Back in the day with Thad and Evan Turner, who was the center?
Brand was there. Ellen Brand was there.
Did he do 20?
Oh, man, he might have.
Brand might. That's who I'm thinking of. That's who I was thinking of. Brand might be at 20.
Always hurt with us, though. That's my problem. He definitely was with the Clippers. We could have used him for the Clippers, but I think he was a little more. I think he was a little more known though, for what it's worth.
Okay.
God, man, Ellen Brand. It's just the balance of those teams. They were very like that 2015 Atlanta hawkish elements.
And we didn't have who was before. It was Okafor. It was Nerlens Noel.
We had Vooch his rookie year, but I don't think Vooch had the minutes.
Vooch, no, but I remember being infuriated when we traded him.
Yeah, because he was good for us, and we never played him.
All right, who else would have been around that time? Wait. Isaiah Cannon or Ish Smith or...
Dude, there's no way Isaiah Cannon or Ish Smith averaged 20 points on the Sixers.
They were cooking. Wait.
Dude, Justin, Isaiah Cannon has never dreamed of averaging 20 points in the NBA.
No. Like, who is... You sure? Because they were like the only scorer for the team for a while there.
Point guards, bro. Ish Smith's like career high.
I'm looking
this up. Isaiah Cannon averaged 12.6 per game.
Okay.
And Ish Smith's career high is also like 12 and change.
All right. I just felt like they were always scoring for us.
They were. They played really well for us, but they were not scoring 20 a game for us. I would have more faith in Okafor than I would in that, or MCW, but I'm stuck there. I can't give myself to do it. God, Moses Malone did too. Who did you mention though? You mentioned not Ellen Brand. There was somebody. Oh, I keep going back to Jerry Stackhouse too. I think Jerry Stackhouse would be low for us, man.
Jerry Stackhouse. We could do Stackhouse. It's like, because really,
he did it in the 90s.
I bet the obvious answers right off the rip are going to be Maxey, Embiid.
My other
Iverson.
Yeah, my other. I'm deep in the trenches and think this would be an all-time poll, but I don't have enough faith to do it. Is like Clarence Weatherspoon. Another 90s guy for the Sixers.
Okay. Jesus.
But I have more faith in Stackhouse than I do in Weatherspoon. Stackhouse is a scorer.
All right. So I'll leave it to you.
Let's do Stackhouse. I think that'll be good. We got to end on a high note. Our rarity score has been money in the bank today, and I think this will be extra rare.
Ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
extra
go.
Rare 27.
You see it. We said that was Lauri Markkanen's age enough. It's kind of fitting in this episode. It's a 27 episode. Sick. Okay.
Hold on, 22 people work for this?
I believe that.
Hold on, let's see. Hold on. Embiid, Maxey, Harden, Lewis King. Wow. What? Lewis King played for the Sixers one game in 2022-2023 and had 20 points.
Wait a minute. Are you sure?
That's what it says right here.
I gotta look that up. That can't be right.
Played 29 minutes, one game. He was 8 for 13.
God, was that it? That maybe that's a last game of the season type deal.
It had to have been, right?
That's crazy.
No
Okay.
one would have. Chris Webber works.
Wow,
Allen,
Chris Webber. I think he would be averaging 20 a game for us. I remember that trade, but I think he would still be averaging 20.
Allen Iverson, Jerry Stackhouse, Hawkins, Barkley. Now we're getting old. Irving, Malone, Tony.
Oh yeah, Drew Tony would have been a good one.
Yeah, Doug Collins, Fred Carter.
Collins would have been a good one. Nice.
Cunningham, Hal Greer.
Yeah,
Will,
the OGs now.
Yeah, yeah. We're yeah.
Hal Greer would have been a good boomer pick.
Yeah,
just he was really
this
good.
Lewis King. This is wild. Yeah. He has played. Hold on, where did I go? He has played a total of 10, 16, 26, 27 games total since 2019. He's been in the league. He was on Detroit, Sacramento twice, and then Philly. And he played one game for Philly in 2022, 2023, where he had 20 points. Wait, what? Wait,
wow.
Hold on. He has played that many. Okay. What? So Detroit, at age 20, he played 10 games. 2019-2020 season, he averaged 20 points in those 10 games. In 2021, he played for Sacramento. He played 6 games, started one of them, averaged 44 points. Oh no, this is totals. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
He played one game for us. He scored 20 points. Like, hey, good for him.
Yeah, never mind. I was looking at totals. We're okay. I'm on crack. We're fine.
That would probably be the most incredible guess of all time if someone actually could pull that off.
Dude, you're cheating if you pick that.
You're 100% cheating. You know that. Or you're in Lewis King's family. Or you are Lewis King.
Then in that case,
congratulations, Lewis King. Good for you, buddy. All right, let's scroll down. Let's
he's in the G League now, apparently.
The most popular players here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yep.
Yeah, we'll go back to our grid in a sec. All right, so for Clippers and Spurs, Kawhi,
Danny Green.
Yeah, okay. Danny Green for Sixers and Spurs, Tracy McGrady for Knicks and Spurs, Pat Bev for Clippers and Wolves, Derrick Rose, who we mentioned, for Knicks and Wolves, Jimmy Butler for Sixers and Wolves, 20 points a game per season, Blake Griffin for the Clippers. Yeah, there were a bunch for the Clippers too, low-key, that we could have done, though we didn't really rattle off as much. Blake, Chris Paul, Elton Brand, etc.
You think Jordan had 20, DeAndre?
No. I think he was close, but he's too much.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up. Yeah.
For the Knicks, most popular 20 a game per season is Patrick Ewing. I'm a little surprised, only just because I thought it'd be Melo. I did think Melo would beat him out a little bit, but not necessarily surprised with Pat either. And then Embiid, actually the most popular for the Sixers, which I mean makes sense. He's doing it right now. To recap our grid, while you look up DeAndre Jordan,
he never got over his highest points per game. 12.7.
Yeah, he's not an offensive guy.
Yeah,
he was a defensive player of the year rebounder guy.
Yeah.
Our grid to recap: Clippers, Spurs, Boban Marjanovic, Clippers, Wolves, Lance Stevenson, Clippers 20 a game, Tobias Harris. Hey, Bobby and Toby on the same row. Look at us. Knicks and Spurs, Doug McDermott. Knicks and Wolves, Alexei Shved. Knicks 20 points a game per season, Jamal Crawford. Sixers and Spurs, Dwayne Dedman. Sixers and Wolves, Robert Covington. And Sixers 20 points a game per season, Jerry Stackhouse. Not bad at all, if I do say so myself. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Driving Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys, as always. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. I'll read them on the podcast. If you are not an Apple user, anywhere you get your podcasts, you can find us.
And obviously, we are on YouTube. You can watch video version of the podcast where we have video, and you can watch it. Subscribe so you know about the episodes when they come out.